Hello beer geeks, Merry Christmas and welcome to the final episode of the Craft Beer channel in 2021. And indeed, welcome to the Brew Studio, already awkwardly portmanteaued to the Brewdio. We're going to be telling you all about the construction of this space where most Craft Beer channel content is going to be made going forward. But before we do that, we have to find out how our festive brew-off went as Brad and I went head to head to try and brew the most Christmassy Weiss beer we could. So in this episode, we're going to be finding out who gets the coveted Christmas #1 spot and who is the burned turkey. So last time on the Craft Beer channel, Brad and I went head to head using the two amazing new Grainfather kits, the G40 and the S40. As you may remember, night kind of fell on us while we were doing that, but it's a testament to how good the two Grainfather kits are that we managed to brew on entirely new equipment, get exactly the numbers we wanted on both systems, and just about finish before Christmas actually hit. Well, those beers have been tucked away, waiting for Christmas morning, and the time has nearly come to reveal them. There's not a huge amount that we've had to do with these beers. There's no dry hop, a little diac rest, a little crash, and that's kind of about it. So most of this episode is actually going to be spent A, talking about what a Weiss beer is and what we should be looking for, and then B, actually tasting the beers and having a little bit of a retrospective on the year. Now, a little disclaimer, the back half of this video is all done on Zoom, and that's because in between filming the Christmas brew and filming this segment, I actually became a dad, which is why on that Zoom call, I look like I've been drinking Weiss beer, well, all day long. So now that the beers are safely tucked up and fermenting away, they're already blipping, I thought it'd be a nice chance for me to have a little chat to you about the Hefeweizen, because it's not a style that we really talk about. It's very, well, not very trendy at all. It's sort of the kind of thing that we only really drink in Germany, but that is a real shame because it is a really delicious style, particularly when done well by the people that know how to do it. It's still one of those styles where I've never had one that's tasted as it kind of is in my head or as it always seems to be in Germany. It's still kind of, they know how to do it best. I tried to pour plenty of head on that and I've gone a little bit too far. So the Hefeweizen, it's 50% wheat at least, so there's loads and loads of body. Think New England levels of body, really pillowy, soft, and kind of velvety. But, I mean, the flavours that you get from it is unlike anything. For a start, a lot of these are decocted, like a Pilsner would be, or some Helles. So you get that kind of caramel, brioche, bready kind of character that is very difficult to get without boiling that mash and kind of caramelising those sugars. So that's what you get on top of that cracker wheat kind of character, and usually plenty of sort of honeyed malt character as well. But on the nose, I mean, there's kind of a lightly acidic kind of red berry thing, but otherwise it is foam banana, it is cloves, and it's honey. I mean, just those descriptors make me smile. I can't understand how you wouldn't love something like this if you knew what you were about to get into, because it is a big beer. What always surprises me is just how crushable these beers are. We don't think about New England as particularly crushable. And yet these beers, I mean, you know, they were brewed in Munich. They have hot summers there. You need something crisp and refreshing and easy drinking, and that's what these are. I mean, this is 5.5%, but it slips down like a 4%. It's perfectly balanced. There's almost no bitterness really to speak of, but it's dry enough that it's really, really drinkable. And there's so much character, but it's all kind of suggested because it comes from the yeast. There's not, you know, when you have to heavily hop something to get some character, you're affecting the mouthfeel, you're affecting the kind of powdery finish, you're creating bitterness. When you're doing it with esters and phenols, actually you've got a lot of room to play with. You don't feel so much of it on the palate, maybe a kind of oil slickiness, but you don't feel a lot. So you can really ramp it up without affecting the drinkability of the beer. And that's why a Weiss beer can be big and bold in the aroma and the flavours, but still be incredibly drinkable. Now, when it comes to homebrew versions of this, it's really, really hard to recreate. As I've said, you know, the best ones I've had are still from Bavaria. I haven't really had anything that's come that close outside of it. So producing these beers at home can be quite tricky. One of the things that you'll read on all the forums is to really ramp up the temperature to get as much character out of that yeast as possible, and I really don't agree with that. If you do that ferulic acid rest, you're going to get loads of that clove, and these yeasts are bred, you know, to produce those kind of aromas. So there's going to be loads of it if you just ferment it at the bottom of that range at about 18, which the Weihenstephan really likes. And then you can ramp it, naturally free rise it, or heat it if you need to, up to 23 to get rid of the diacetyl and maybe tease out a little bit more character. But you don't need to ramp this. You're more likely to start getting, you know, kind of green apple and diacetyl issues if you really, really go for it. So I'd say do the rest if you can, and then just ferment it at 18. The other thing to note is those phenols, those esters can be really dominant. So if you're going to play with it like Brad and I have, you know, those 25 grams of sweet orange that Brad has added, I'm a little bit concerned they won't come out at all anyway. But if we'd really ramped it and really tried to tease out more, we could have completely buried that flavour and even maybe buried the American hops. And with my one, what we don't want is, you know, for those lovely malts that we've added to just kind of play second fiddle to it all. We've got to mingle them. That's what balance is about. So hopefully by keeping the character a little bit restrained, we'll be able to create that sense of balance and that sense of drinkability by combining it with the kind of the date, the fig, the raisin, the saurine kind of notes to it, so that it doesn't dominate either anything else in the beer or anything that you might eat or drink it with, because this is a Christmas beer. And one of the vital things about Christmas beers is that it's brilliant with food. It doesn't need to be a particular food, but it needs to be great with something, because if your Christmas day is anything like mine, it's literally scheduled by what the next meal is or what the next snack is. So we want this to match something during the day, and I think Brad's could be maybe good with Christmas dinner, maybe a good aperitif or digestif. Mine is very much once night falls, going to be great with Christmas cake, with mince pies, hopefully with cheese, particularly like soft, quite young cheeses. I think it'll be really nice. So yeah, it's picking that moment, and that's part of what Christmas beer is all about. If you want to learn more about the history of Christmas beer, there's still that link up in there. But I think that's enough waffle about Weiss beer. I'm dreaming of a Weiss Christmas, and we'll find out how those beers have turned out. Okay, well, welcome to the Craft Beer Channel studio. This is the first time that this has appeared in any of our videos. It's not quite finished, but you will be learning much more about this in January, about the whole build, about the first brews that I'm going to be doing in here, and obviously about all the cool setups that I've got, the studio setup, the brewing setup, and then the Keezer setup, which hasn't arrived yet and hasn't been built, but it will be. So it's been 48 hours at a cold temperature. You know, I'm not entirely sure of the process with the Hefeweizen, but there certainly can be no harm that can come from being a little bit cautious, giving it some time at that temperature and dropping out as much trub as possible. We want lots of haze, but we want the right kind of haze, and that shouldn't really be a lot of yeast. So now we're going to do a closed transfer. Obviously it's not as important as it would be with a New England IPA, which is super sensitive to oxygen, but still a major reason why New England beers go kind of brown as they oxidize is actually partly to do with the wheat and the oats that are used in that, and so we've got a similar problem here. We want to keep the colour, we want to keep the flavour, even though there's not a lot of hops to really get ruined by that oxygen. So I'm going to do a proper closed transfer. I've purged my 2 kegs. And now I've got to fill them using the Malt Miller closed transfer kit, which works really, really well for a couple of other beers that I've done. So Benny Hill music, and let's do this. Can't be the Benny Hill music, I can't afford that, but some kind of music. So what I'm putting on here is basically a pressure rated valve, a bit like you'd have on the top of a corny keg, so that I can push gas through here. It will come out of the bottom that I've just put on there and go straight into the keg. Probably have to really carbonate it very, very quickly to also a very high level, because that's what you need with a Weiss beer. I think we're going to maybe 2.8, 3, maybe even 3 volumes to get as much kind of explosive aroma out and as much body and big feel to it as we possibly can. And then I'll be bottling it and sending it to Brad. Sadly, we can't be together because life has got in the way. However, actually quite literally a life has got in the way. So I'll send those bottles to Brad and then we'll do a tasting online of the two and see which one is doing better. Like I say, I'm not going to taste them first. I think it's going to be a lot more fun for you to get the genuine reactions when me and Brad sit down and try these beers from bottle together. Bradley, welcome back.
Mate, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you too. I see you again have gone for a questionable but very jazzy jacket, Christmas jumper jacket.
Yeah, exactly. I've got some full-on craft beer channel merch on as well. My hero Milton Glazer. I've got the roaring fire in the background. I don't know why I'm pushing that way. And I've got a very jazzy rainbow-coloured Christmas tree. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. You can see it with your own eyes, Johnny.
It was a bit of an elephant in the room, that Christmas tree, during the brew. And I kept meaning during that first video to reference it and be like, look at our shit tree. And I didn't.
It's
Sorry,
my home
tree.
It's my actual Christmas tree, yeah.
I want you to crack yours. I want to check it's still carved and not oxidized. So I want you to start.
Well, first Bradley. Of all, I've got to show this off. That's pretty cool, right? So our lovely Patreon subs, a lot of them will be winging their way to them right now, Johnny. So that's a Christmas present this year for our subs.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to join Patreon and get a Christmas gift and a patch, the patch is on Brad's microphone there. Please do join and support the channel. It all goes into making lovely content.
That's what it's all about, love and beer, mate. Now,
right,
enough
Bradley.
with the love. Let's drink some beer.
Crack it. Okay, there's carb. Give it a pour. Hopefully it's not murky brown. Oh, you're getting Hefeweizen?
Yeah, totally, mate.
Oh, good.
Oh, look at that.
Great. Looks great.
That is orangey beautifulfulness.
So if you think what you've got is special, I got the draft version, mate.
Oh.
Alrighty, so Bradley, you went for Amarillo, which is orangey. You went for Mandarina Bavaria, which is mandarin-y.
Which is
and then
a
you went for
small orange. Yes.
A small orange. And then you went for some sweet orange peel. Are we going to get a bunch of orange on the nose?
It's pretty... I'm getting a decent whack of orange.
There is a real pithiness. Like, actually, that orange peel, I think, has come through really well, almost to the detriment, maybe, of the other hops. It's massive.
The colour of it is amazing.
It is a burnished orange. It's great. And there's still loads of esters there, still loads of banana and loads of clove, and maybe a little hint of nail polish. Maybe the fermentation got quite excited.
That's a pretty great Hefe, man. I mean, that is unreal.
It's pretty good. It's lacking a tiny bit of body. I probably want to adjust the water profile to give it a little bit more pillowiness. Sometimes with beers, I get like a postage stamp kind of vibe, and I've got that going on. That's my only real criticism aside from the body. Otherwise, it's a pretty fucking good recipe, Bradley.
It's pretty excellent. I like the fact that mine looks like it's on fire in the can. It's so good that it's spontaneously combusted.
So my recipe was I took that base, that 50% wheat, 50% Pilsner malt, and the Weihenstephan yeast. And then I added some DRC, double roasted crystal, switched out the Pilsner for Munich, and then I hopped it very traditionally. So I was trying to make raisins, figs, dates, things that are going to go really well with a mince pie, really well with a Christmas cake.
Mate, that is crazy dark.
That is much darker. I mean, you say it's crazy dark. It's about where I wanted it. It's actually the kind of color I wanted the red IPA we made at the start of this year to be. It's got a lovely rich red mahogany. It's mahogany colored. Rich mahogany. Okay, let's get the aroma on this.
I'm getting obviously the esteriness. I am getting some raisin going on.
I'm getting some real toast as well, which I maybe didn't want too much of. I wanted more like toasted marshmallow, not toasted bread. So it's a little bit more savory, the aroma, than I was hoping for. I'm a bit disappointed, Bradley.
Don't be hard on yourself, mate. I think it's pretty good. It feels like, you know, the sort of thing I'd want to drink by the fire. It hasn't quite got the kind of body to it and the mouthfeel, I would say.
I've made a couple of mistakes in that recipe. The first one, I think, is the carafa. I don't think it needed it.
I think with the Munich and the DRC, that was dunkel enough. I think also it's completely lacking any bitterness, which means it lacks some structure. It lacks a finish. I think it's also lacking a bit of body, and I think that comes, with what you added, you've got oily orange skin, and hops do have an effect on the body. They add fluffiness, and if it's too much, they become powdery. And I think with the complete lack of hops, I've lost a little bit of body, so I need to do a big adjustment on my water chemistry to adjust for that. Because I can't exactly add more wheat; it's already 50%. I could go up to 60. In fact, I probably would. I'd go up 10% on that. Play with the water chemistry, take out the carafa, up the hops. In fact, the only thing I wouldn't change is the yeast, which is the only thing I didn't change compared to yours. So, I mean, if I were to brew that again, everything would change. If I were to brew yours again, I'd maybe up the late hop a little bit and adjust the water chemistry and do a lot of Googling as to why we got postage stamp flavors. But that beer, if I drank that from a professional brewery, I'd be like, fair play, good hef. If I drank this, I'd probably be a bit of a dick on Untapped about it, if I'm honest.
I'm counting the whole thing as a success because it was so ambitious to try and brew 2 beers the same day.
I think it's a testament to Grainfather as well. I mean, got to be clear, Grainfather sponsor our homebrew content, but the fact that we got 2 brand new pieces of equipment and managed to brew a beer on it each, having never used them before, and still ended up A, hitting all our numbers, and B, coming out with at least one beer that I would drink forever and one beer that I could tweak to be delicious, is a real testament to how easy both those are to use. I've brewed on the G40 since. We've got something a bit special fermenting away in there, a West Coast IPA.
Top secret.
And I loved brewing on the G40, but I mean that is like the creme de la creme of brewing for homebrewers. It's as good as homebrewing gets. The G40, the S40, I thought was still brilliant.
Yeah.
So many lessons have been learned from the G30. It's got so many really well thought out design things that they've changed. And the build quality was still amazing. It was ready to go out of the box. So you lose the connectivity, you lose the prompts, you lose the sort of the recording of a lot of it.
Mm.
But it doesn't take anything away from the actual fun of the brew. If anything, it forces you to be more present and more involved in it. So, if I didn't have the G40, I'd be all over the S40.
So, Johnny, mine was an absolute Christmas cracker. Yours was a little bit of a damn squib. But I think it's great. Still great stuff. Very, very enjoyable.
But I think yours was Elf.
Yes.
Or A White Christmas.
Or Die Hard.
Life. And mine was Jingle All the Way. Guys, this is our last content for the year. As you may or may not know, I've become a father in the last couple of weeks, so that's why content has got sporadic, but we will be back big, hard, with some really exciting new content. Thanks, Bradley. In the new year, we've obviously got one of our centerpieces of content, which is what will be big in 2022. So we've got that coming up. We've also got some really exciting content and absolutely some news around Keep Card Scale alive. So watch out for that in January, and otherwise have yourself a very merry little Christmas time.